right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Off the Bench Banter after a slight vacation. Sports were kind of dead for a little bit, and we've both been a little busy, so took a slight vacation, but we're back. Going to be as consistent as possible the rest of the offseason, and definitely when football comes around, we're going to be super consistent with that. We're back up at school and everything, so we're excited for that as well. But yeah, today's July 24th. This lovely Wednesday night. My name is Austin Sterling.
And I'm Ryan Somerville, and we're going to get you started with a bunch of past recaps of the sports events, breaking news, everything from these past few weeks that we've missed. So, Austin, you want to kick us off?
Yeah. Biggest story coming up here is NFL's training camp is starting underway for pretty much most teams this week. I know a few start later, but I just got a few questions about this too for you, Somerville, because I want to know your takes on these. What are some of what's like probably the most interesting storyline you'll be looking for? And I'm gonna say non-Giants related, since you're a Giants fan. Let's say non-Giants related storyline you're looking for this season.
I mean, it's been like a common trend in my eyes for the past few years, but like I feel like every like good team is just like shifting their players every few years. Like I'll go down the line a little bit. Like the Ravens get Derrick Henry, big move. The Chiefs get Xavier Worthy. It looks like they keep just rotating wide receiver ones. The Bills trade Diggs and draft Coleman in the first round. Like they're banking on him to be a wide receiver one. The Texans get Mixon. They get Diggs. And obviously they have Stroud still. So, they're like a heavy favorite. To me, it's just like these teams are just like, you have Brandon Ayuk maybe on the way out, Devontae Adams. You guys got Hassan Reddick, the Jets. Like, that's huge. We got Burns. Okay. Like, it's just like a common trend, I feel like more than in the past.
So
like teams are like giving up early on there. They're trying to just get ahead.
Yeah, basically like new faces, new places. I think it's going to be the most fun at all the positions to see all the new running backs, because I feel like there's so many running backs that have been big names, even if they're not as good now, over the last 4 years. And they're all like just on weird teams or different teams. Like I feel like nobody remembers Josh Jacobs is just on the Packers. Like, I mean, aside from Packers fans, of course, but that's so random. He led the league literally in rushing like 2 years ago, and now he's just on a completely new team in his prime. And then they get Aaron Jones is a little bit older, but he's now just on their rivals, the Vikings. So yeah, definitely a lot of really interesting people in different places. That's going to be super fun. I agree. I would say, that's a great storyline. Obviously for me, I'd lean more towards if I went team specific. And I'm a Jets fan, so I'm not going to do a Jets one, but I'm interested to see how Richardson looks with the Colts, because I think they're very, very underrated and or at least just not talked about like enough. They have a really solid team, and if Richardson plays how he looked in the short time last season, they're better now. Jonathan Taylor's back. He wasn't there for when Richardson was playing, most of it at least. They're a pretty dangerous team. Like, I know everyone's really high on the Texans in that division, but I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see the Colts right there competing for first place by the end of the season.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Obviously we're big AR fans from UF. It's like It's cool to see everyone's high on him, but like he's so injury prone and like he's very raw. Like we saw this at school. Like he's a good pocket passer, but he's also inaccurate. So you have both sides of it. But again, we saw last year he was hurt. UF, he was hurt. So can he stay healthy? He's the most athletic player.
And it's
like
crazy.
It's almost quarterback of all time.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's almost like a case of Stan. Like, this dude's built like a freaking mammoth. Like, he's like 250 pounds as a quarterback, and he's also running a 4.4. Like, that's like a fucking linebacker, essentially, at quarterback. And yeah, it's interesting. It's just weird that he's kind of injury prone like that, at least so far in his young career. So, a lot of question marks, but I'm interested to see what happens with them. And then moving on to, we got some more NFL offseason talk as well coming up later in the podcast, but just in terms of recent news, the Knicks ink Tom Thibodeau to a 3-year extension, which I was obviously, and we were both very happy with. I think all Knicks fans can be happy about that. People can say what they want about Tibbs playing people too many minutes and whatnot. But he's a great coach. You cannot question how he develops every single one of his players, teaches them all to crash the boards, all to play defense. Like, it seems like every time he gets his hands on a new player who wasn't doing that in their previous location, they just completely change their identity and buy into his system, at least here in New York. This is great for the Knicks. And I'm really excited to see what he can do with the new core we just put together this offseason. So,
yeah, I think like we're going to be a top 3 defensive team in the league for sure. Like the lineup we can put out with like, obviously Bronson's like the liability, but he's the top 3 scorer.
It doesn't matter when he's, how as important as he is.
Yeah. Bronson, Michael at the 2, OG at the 3, Randall at the 4, Mitch at the 5. Defensively, it's like a few of them can switch on to everyone. Mitch has been getting better, like laterally. We both know that. Like he couldn't come out of the paint. Now he can kind of guard both ways. Bronson's like top of the league in charges, so like he does his role. So I mean, like, and then you have Josh Hart off the bench, Dante off the bench.
Deuce. And those are guys who were starting big minutes last year when we were injured.
We always talk about this. Like,
they're good enough to be starters, and they're off our bench.
It's ridiculous. Like, our depth went from paper thin in the playoffs to all of a sudden our front office, our coach are making these moves. Like, we lost Hartenstein, but we got Michael, who's more durable, which is exactly what we need.
Yeah.
Like, no one's talking about that part. They're just talking about Villanova Knicks. He's going to play every game, and the worst he'll do is 15 points a game, lock down the best player. So I think, I think it was Kendrick Perkins said we're the biggest threat to the Celtics. Was it?
Yeah. I mean, I agree though. Like, I think we are the biggest threat to the Celtics. We're built to stop them because they're the best team in the league. So you got to be doing that if you're trying to win a championship. Yeah, I agree with you. Hartenstein loss, hurts a little bit, but I think the addition of Mikal Bridges is just more important and better for us overall. Like, I'm really excited to see what we do with small ball lineups because you're going to see a few of those. I want to see Randall at the 5 a few times. Like, I just think that would be such a disgusting lineup if you just like slide in a Dante DiVincenzo or like even Josh Hart if you want more defense.
Like a 2K lineup.
And you just throw Randall in there because Randall's physical. Like, he can body anybody. It's like just his height. But yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, a lot of exciting things for the Knicks. And obviously we talked about before with the re-sign of OG Anunoby. So, we're super excited for this next season. We'll be all in on it. So hopefully they can finish the job. But a little bit older news in the NBA as well. 76ers land Paul George, Mavs land Klay Thompson, and the Kings signed DeRozan. Probably the 3 biggest moves of the offseason so far, unless something crazy happens. But a little bit older news, but I mean, good moves for pretty much all teams. I would say I honestly think the most important one here is probably DeRozan to the Kings, even though like Paul George is the popular answer. I'm really not that much more scared of the Sixers personally as a Knicks fan, especially with what we got. He's a known playoff choker. He's like sometimes more concerned with his podcast. I'm not scared of that man. The Kings, though, I really like what they did because they still have Sabonis, they still have Fox, and they got Malik Monk. I think they extended him or something.
I think so. Yeah, 2 years, 2 or 3.
They extended Malik Monk, who's like one of the best 6 men in the entire league. And then they just got a scoring boost with DeRozan. So I really like that move personally, and to replace Barnes with him. But yeah,
I definitely agree. I do think the DeRozan answer is definitely the best because I think the Kings are the best team out of those 3 teams that make the big moves besides us. They're definitely better than the Sixers and the Mavs. Or, it's close, but I think, we'll see. But, it's a good move, I think, for the Kings. They slot Keegan Murray into the 4. Barnes is kind of getting old. They ship him off to San Antonio.
And that's a good move.
Yeah.
That's good move for Spurs, I think.
He can defend. He's not like a small 4. Like, you put DeRozan in there to score as a 3. Monk is solid on defense. Like, it's a good move for them. They needed the scoring. I want to see them get rid of Kevin Huerter. He's kind of trash, and he makes a lot of money. That's just my opinion. But, and then the Mavs signed Klay, who went 0 for 11 last time he played. but they traded Hardaway, who we always meme on here, to the Pistons, along with the Pistons got like every single like washed up player, like Tobias Harris, like it's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's a sad franchise.
I think with the Mavs though, like I don't think their issue is offense, and they went out and got an offensive player who's gonna start every game, along with two offense dominant players,
Yeah, I
right?
mean, he used
Like
to be elite at defense. I don't know if he still is. I don't watch too many like
he's
Warriors games.
slow,
I
like
know he's
he's
a little
old.
washed. But I mean,
He's not like top.
if he could provide a 3-and-D like element to them, I don't think it's a bad move. I mean, you're not downgrading from Hardaway, so like I mean, I don't think it's like a league changing move like they made the finals last year, yes, but I just think other teams around them got better than they did.
Yeah,
So I don't know if they repeat that, and I don't think Klay Thompson like puts them over the top. Like if they had Klay Thompson in that series against the Celtics, you'd think that would have put them over the top. Like no way.
no, because
So
they couldn't defend. Like that's what I'm saying.
yeah, I agree. But yeah, that kind of wraps up that news. Something to mention as well, but we're Red Sox haters. But the Red Sox extend Alex Cora, which I'm slightly jealous about because the Yankees are stuck with
He
fucking
sucks.
Aaron Boone, who is right up there with Adam Gase for me in terms of all time
Wow,
shitty coaches
that's
I
a pull.
hate that are on my team. But yeah, no, the Red Sox signed Alex Cora, and like they're honestly competing pretty well with a roster that many thought were just going to be like a rebuilding type roster. So
Yeah,
he's a decent coach. He does make some mistakes and some boneheaded plays. One of my buddies, Tyler's a huge Red Sox fan. He's always complaining about Cora, and he really doesn't like him that much. But he is a pretty good coach. He would have been popular in if he made it to free agency. But yeah, Red Sox extend their coach and keep him for 3 more years. So cool there. And then moving on to probably the most interesting news out of all the off season, which is always the NFL training camps getting underway, seeing who's holding out, who's not holding out, who's reporting to camp. Yeah, that's all. I personally just love seeing that. I love seeing the in camp fights too, when people like get fired up and start like beating each other's ass on the same team. That's always funny to me as well. But first thing I want to talk about before the holdouts is there have been some rumors, and I'm hopeful. But the Raiders are no doubt like a shit show. They're a little better now, I think, with Antonio Pierce, but last year was a shit show with McDaniels. And Adams is getting older, Devontae Adams. He's been grumbling, and if you watch the receiver documentary on Netflix, he definitely seemed unhappy in that. But there's been some grumblings of him wanting to get traded, and he says he really only wants to get traded if he's going to play with Rodgers. And then Rodgers, I saw a clip of him on the golf course and was like, he alluded to something like, yeah, one day I'll reunite with Devontae Adams or something like that. I mean, if you obviously as a Jets fan, if you're trying to go all in like we are, that move would be so great for us. But I'm a realistic Jets fan, so as always, it always depends on our coaching and our offensive line, which are historically always shit. We made a lot of moves for them, but I would like to see us go get Adams. I mean, that's probably the best receiving core in the league. If you add Devontae Adams, it's definitely top 5. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's top one. I don't think
It is top 1,
I'm
but I was just
realistic about
saying it for the
football.
conservative fans.
I'm a neutral fan. I'm a Giants fan. Obviously, you know that. I can't argue that. Like who's even close? Like the Rams, the
Like
Eagles,
maybe the Texans
the
on
Tank
paper at
Dell.
least. I would say, yeah, we're probably better than them, but I mean,
No, they're
it's worth
better.
talking about.
Yeah. No, but yeah, it's been really interesting to see obviously the documentaries.
That was fun, yeah.
Yeah, it's like half the people out there are just like trying to get on a new team besides the 49ers. But
my favorite line was when Adam's like, "I gotta get out of here before I lose my fucking life, dog."
yeah,
I was like,
that
"That's
was
so
great.
fucking crazy, bro." Garoppolo's that bad; he's driving him insane.
Yeah, he was
Oh, but
mad.
moving on with some Jets news as well. I want to do this one too, but Hassan Reddick in true Jets fashion. We can't have a nice quiet start to to the training camp, but Hassan Reddick decides he wants to hold out after telling Joe Douglas allegedly that he would wait to go search for a new deal. Reportedly, Joe Douglas asked him this before the trade even went through. They had multiple conversations about it, and Reddick basically kind of said, "Yeah." Seemed like they were at an agreement that, yeah, I'll have a prove it year on what is going to be a top 5 defense with or without him. Yeah, I'll have a prove it year. I'll make my money next year. I'll sign that extension. But now he wants to hold out, and I'll let you go first since I've been talking a lot. But I definitely have some thoughts on this. I want to know some of your thoughts on this overall about the move and him holding out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to talk much because you know more about it and about your team and all that. But you guys, you traded away your depth. Who'd you trade? Huff to Denver?
We just traded Huff, who he needed a new deal. We weren't gonna pay him, so we lose.
So you get Reddick. So you have him. You have the second year from McDonald, right? From FSU.
Yeah, Will McDonald.
You have
from Iowa State.
Yeah, you're right. Like he should be good, but he's still unproven. So
unproven.
If Reddick holds out, you guys go from being like a lockdown top D line to like you have Quinn in, and then you have a second year who should be good, and then we have
Jermaine. Jermaine's Pro Bowl.
Jermaine Johnson.
I'll say this.
Your depth just goes down. Like right now, you guys are
agree.
stupid.
I think there's stupidity on both sides for this move. Joe Douglas, like, how are you not vetting a guy? I know he reportedly lied, but if you're going to make a move like this, I don't know how you're not vetting him and knowing he's going to play for your team or having plans to extend him or whatever it is. So Joe Douglas, you get the dunce cap for that one. Hassan Reddick, I don't know what you're doing, to be honest, because you really don't have leverage in this situation. You're a 29-year-old pass rusher with 1 year left on his deal. So you're looking at that final contract. I have no clue where he went. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm gonna look it up. Sorry.
Yeah, look that up. While you're looking it up. So yeah, Reddick comes in as a 29-year-old pass rusher. So we traded Bryce Huff for him. But I think we did that with the knowledge, like, we're not going to pay Bryce Huff because we have 4 studs that we would ideally like to pay all 4 of them coming up in 2 years here in Sauce Gardner, Breece Hall, Jermaine Johnson, who's going to be an elite edge. He made the Pro Bowl last year. He's trajecting up. And Garrett Wilson. And so those guys are getting our money like that. I know Joe Douglas has got to be planning for that because at least 3 of them need to be paid and staying with us, whatever's realistic for the cap space. But so that's why we weren't giving Bryce Huff the money, even though he is really good. We trade him for Reddick, which is an upgrade for this season, which is what we're looking for. Comes to an agreement that he's not going to look for a contract, and he's going to play out this year. Sign to prove it. I think Joe Douglas's sneaky master plan was, all right, we'll tell him that like he'll get the extension with us, but then we just won't re-sign him and he'll get money somewhere else because he would probably get paid. But Reddick is now holding out. I don't know. Reddick has like no leverage in this, in my opinion, because we do have Will McDonald and we're a top 5 defense, like with or without him. We have the best secondary in the league. Top 3 linebacker core in the league. And our D-line, I think, stays a top 10 D-line without Reddick. Reddick makes it top 3, maybe the best. Without Reddick, I would say we still have a top 10. But Hassan Reddick, like, you're not important enough, like, to be fair, like, to be honest, because you're not getting, like, Garrett Wilson's money. Like, that's never in our plan. If Joe Douglas caves in and gives him a long-term deal, then I think that would be a worse mistake than if he holds out. Because what 29-year-old pass rusher is going to hold out for a year, not play, and then go get paid that next year? That's not going to happen. So good luck with that. Have fun getting fined $60K a year.
I get yeah.
Or a day.
I think they do resign him, but I guess we'll see. So speaking of holdouts, a big one that we've seen that's been pretty popular. CeeDee Lamb, please hold out for the Giants' sake. We play you week 1, please. Oh, we could win that if.
Yeah, so stupid on the Cowboys' end. Should have signed him already. Like, you're gonna pay him.
Yeah.
Also, I think this just came out today too. Trent Williams reportedly is holding out as well. Now he's on the older side, but still probably the best offensive lineman in football.
We play the Cowboys week 4. So CD 4 week holdout. Before we call out, boy.
Dude, if the Cowboys actually allow that to go on, they're so unserious. They're the Yankees of the
Might beat him.
NFL, though.
You might beat him.
But yeah, Wirfs is also looking for a new deal, but he's a guy who loves the game of football, so he's not holding out. I can respect that, although it is a little risky, but he's certainly going to get paid like a top lineman. He's so good and so young. And I dread every day that passes, and I know that the Jets picked Mekhi Becton instead of this fuck.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then also a little bit of a bigger name, Brandon Ayuk. Now, reportedly, San Fran is not going to trade him, but he's not unhappy there. So I'll let you give a few spots you think he might end up.
Well, first off, I don't like he's kind of be like trying to make himself into like a mini Antonio Brown or something.
Yeah,
like,
I've noticed
posting
that as
like
well.
with Jaden Daniels, like posting shit through other people, like bro, like you're on like a top 2 team, and like why are you trying to be like
life could be worse.
But then like he goes and then he posts videos of him pulling up to camp, and he's like, oh, it's all better. And then he's like, oh, I don't want to hold out, and now he wants to trade. So I just like can't see it. He's too good for them to trade. It makes no sense. The only reason they would trade him is because he wants to be traded. It's literally like Antonio Brown. But
yeah, it makes no sense, especially if they're trying to win now.
Yeah.
But if it just depends on how bad it gets. I did say that like I like think they should trade him, but that's only because his attitude. Like obviously, from a football perspective, it makes no sense. They should not trade him.
Like his attitude.
Yeah,
like,
I agree. If it stays not that bad and it's not going to distract them from winning a Super Bowl, then they won't trade him. That's why I don't think it says that they're not planning on trading him. That's what I've read. So
they're a hardworking team. They can't have those distractions like Brandon.
No, too many hardworking players on that team.
McCaffrey, not gonna let that slide. But yeah. So I listed 3 places that I've been following this a lot. That I think he could go, and then the one you added is pretty interesting. So you talk about that one. Hopefully, I don't want that to happen. But Buffalo, I think, makes a lot of sense. Like you have Keon Coleman to be your wide receiver 1, but you're not paying any receiver that big money right now. So why not go spend it on Brandon Ayuk? Give him like a 3-year deal to be your wide receiver 1, and then by the time it expires, you can pay Keon Coleman and get rid of him. Like they have 2 good tight ends, so it makes sense for me. And I think if they do that, the Bills are going all the way. But we'll talk about that. And then the most common rumor, I just put it in here because I want to talk about it a little bit, is Pittsburgh. I don't think they don't make those types of moves, in my opinion. They don't like to trade for big stars. They're more of like a sign low once and then like let them walk. So I can't see them. I think they're going to stick with Pickens as wide receiver 1. They have all those like mid like wide receiver 2s on their team. I can't even name them. They're all like the same player. But
yeah, that's always what I think of as well when I think of Pittsburgh. I guess people just think they're going to make that move because he's Mike Tomlin's clone, but I don't really know why there's traction for that either. They don't even really know who their core. I mean, it's going to start as Russell Wilson, but like their quarterback situation is better than it was with Pickett, but like they still do not know who their quarterback like is going to be. So, yeah, I doubt that. I said Washington because, well, obviously that clip went out where he was like talking to Jaden Daniels and stuff. So that adds a little fuel to that direction. But yeah, if I'm Washington, I think this makes sense because, you got your rookie quarterback in there, and now you can get another like a wide receiver 1, a proven receiver to be his number 1, and put him next to Curtis or not Curtis. Put him next to Terry, to Scary Terry, who's also just and again, I think he's very underrated, but he's not really. I think he would be an elite wide receiver 2, like Terry McLaurin. He's a very solid wide receiver 1, but I think he would be an elite wide receiver 2, kind of like a Devontae Smith type role. And so I just think it makes all the sense in the world to get another weapon for your young rookie quarterback. Yeah, I mean, on paper, that is scary. They just signed Eckler, too, who's a little old, but, I mean, he still can run the ball. So, Yeah, the Commanders are trying to make some moves under the new ownership, do something. I really hope he doesn't go to Buffalo because I want to see them in the mud. But like, even if he does, he's still gonna get fucking clamped by Sauce twice a year, so it really doesn't matter. But yeah, so switching things up, different sport. Moving on to the MLB trade deadline's coming up. I believe it's the 30th, so it's coming up in just about a week now. So hopefully the Yankees can get some goddamn help. But yeah, instead of the starters bench warmers, we're gonna do a few trade scenarios we think could be realistic. And we're just gonna kind of run through a few of them for you guys. But yeah, so first up, and I think probably one of the biggest ones, Baltimore Orioles. They're probably going to be a name that's moving the most around the trade deadline. They have the most ammo by far with all their high picks that they've been collecting over the years. And so they have a shit ton of prospects that they really don't need. I mean, they got Colby Mayo and Connor Norby, who are just both infielders, which they have like the youngest infielders in the league. And they're all generational for some reason. So, they're going to trade those guys 100% at some point, but I think it'll probably be this year. They're definitely going to be looking to go for another big arm to shore up that starting rotation, be a 1-2 punch with Burns. They're obviously going to go for Crochet, who the White Sox are openly selling, and on a little bit of a low key, there's been rumblings about them looking at Scooble, who the Tigers reportedly don't want to trade, but you never know for the right price.
Yeah, we'll see.
Because they do have Jackson Holiday, who is, again, another infielder. And, while it might be nice to have a Holiday 1-2 with Gunnar up the middle, if you move him to second base, maybe you cash in and you try to win a World Series this year, getting a Crochet or a Scooble. I think it would be more likely that he could maybe go for Scooble because that might be the only thing that could budge the Tigers. Crochet, I think they could get done without Jackson Holiday with using some of the other big names. So, yeah, what are your thoughts on like what the Orioles are looking at?
Dude, it's scary like how many prospects they've accumulated between like in the majors and the minors. So yeah, I mean, if either they keep beating the Orioles, they're kind of like the new Rays, but like better. I guess
they're like the Rays willing to spend.
The Rays like would have been like this with Wander Franco maybe, but that's a different story. So I put down. I think they're gonna go for Scooble because I think with Scooble they win the World Series versus the Phillies. My package is Jackson Holiday, Connor Norby, and then one of either Kyle Stowers or Connor Mayo. Stowers is another one of those. I don't know. I can't remember. He's an outfielder or infielder, but he's like top 5. Probably will hit 280. So I think it'll be like Holiday, and then like you said, Heston Kjersten. He's pretty good. Like
he's decent, yeah.
He seems like a major leaguer for them though, for some reason.
I think there's a chance also that maybe Cowser finds his way into one of these deals too, because he's been hitting up here, and he's been hitting pretty solid. Yeah, Mullins, they're looking to shop around. He's had a little bit of a down year.
They're looking to
make a move. I mean, they're trying to win a World Series. They're out of slump right now. They're out of slump right now.
We could see, but all right. So let's get into our favorite mock trades for our Yankees. I'll start and then. So I think a move for Jazz and Tanner Scott from the Marlins is pretty likely. So what do we give up? Maybe Peraza, maybe Oswaldo Cabrera. I don't know if the Marlins want like a Glaber, but I think the Yankees could get that deal done. The Marlins kind of trade a lot of people to us. Yeah, what are your thoughts on what the Yankees are looking at?
But I do want Tanner Scott. So I think Tanner Scott's probably the most realistic bullpen arm that gives us the biggest boost for us. So I think that we'll probably make a move for him, and I don't think it would take too much. We'll give him like a few pitching prospects. I'm thinking Warren could be moved. And like you said, Pereira, because just like he's, had some sort of value for us for a while, but like Nothing's ever worked out in the big leagues for him, so it might just be time to give him a change of scenery or a change of scenery. I know I don't think that we'll move Dominguez at this deadline at all. I think he's
Agreed.
untouchable. Spencer Jones, though, I think we should seriously consider moving if it's for like a good piece.
Depends how good, but I
It
could agree.
depends on how good, but
We need an outfielder in return, maybe, but
yeah, but I doubt they'll move Jones as well. We need a corner infielder more than anything else. Namely a
yeah,
third baseman, but an elite first baseman would be nice too. Vladdy's not going to be possible in my opinion unless we really throw a lot at them and they actually want to sell
yeah,
him. I
for
think the
sure.
most realistic, like good player, is probably Isaac Paredes from the Rays. But we were talking about it earlier, like he's probably the type of player who might not perform that well in Yankees pinstripes. Just he's the stadium works for him because he's a dead pull hitter, and if you can hit the ball to either corner in Yankee Stadium, it's going to work in your favor. But yeah, I don't know if he could handle that spotlight. I mean, he plays on the Rays with really no pressure. Like I don't know if he's going to be the same player in New York, but that's looking like our best option. But I actually heard this the other day, and it was kind of interesting. But it's not like ridiculous to say the Yankees maybe make a lower move because we've been known to underwhelm at the trade deadline the last few years.
Yeah,
For like a
agreed.
Gio Urshela, bring him back. And like I don't hate that move. Obviously, he's having a little bit of a down year, but he's still batting 250. He was injured for a good part of the year as well. He's on the Tigers. Who knows? I mean, we've seen that guy perform in New York. I know
Yeah,
he's a great glove. I know he's a pretty clutch hitter, at least when he was on our team, and he was hitting 300 just a year or two ago for the Angels. So I wouldn't mind bringing Gio back. I really liked him. Don't think we should have ever let him go for Josh Donaldson. That's where things really started going downhill.
yeah,
But yeah, I wouldn't mind bringing Gio back, but if we're gonna do that, then I think you have to make another move for maybe a first baseman
yeah.
and bring two bats in because Gio can definitely plug a hole to an extent. He's definitely gonna be a major upgrade of freaking LeMahieu, but it wouldn't be enough to really make a huge difference for sure.
Agreed. Um, but yeah, so switching over to the National League a bit. The main two teams, the Dodgers and the Phillies. So the Dodgers, I have down. I think they're gonna go for Crochet. That's what I've been kind of gearing. Maybe Luis Robert too. Maybe someone like Andrew Vaughn, the first baseman. Somewhat of a lower tier. Their closer maybe, but the Dodgers don't really need a reliever. That's kind of their one or one of their two better strong suits. Yeah, I think Crochet is most likely. That's kind of a Dodgers move to me. And I know
Yeah,
you believed in Walker Buehler a bit. It's not working out for him. Kershaw's tough. Glass now is hurt. So yeah, I mean, what do you think? Crochet to the Dodgers?
yeah, I hope not. I think I think it depends on if the Orioles can actually get Scooble because if they're not a threat for Crochet, then I think the Dodgers will 100% get him. But if they can't get Scooble, then they're definitely going to make a move for Crochet, and they can outbid any team in the league. So I think
Yeah,
that they're willing. I think they're going to end up with one of those two for sure, the Orioles. Um, and I think that'll depend on the Dodgers' chances, but which isn't usual. But I just think that's the situation. But yeah, assuming the Orioles can get Scooble, I think Crochet will end up being a Dodger. Who knows? Maybe Luis Robert too. I remember them. They were trying to package that together a little
yeah,
bit. Um, yeah, and that would be the Dodgers kind of going all in, which is kind of funny because they already made $1 billion worth of signings this offseason just to fucking be scrounging at the trade deadline, just like us and everybody else. But yeah, and then a little less likely situation also is Bichette. I think the Jays will definitely move him. If they're being smart at all, they're selling, and he's probably the first player they should move because he
yeah,
does have some value, and he's not really doing much for them, going at least not right now. So I think a change of scenery to the Dodgers could be cool, but I don't know if the Dodgers view that as much of a priority or like World Series winning move. So I don't know if they actually make that move.
yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on the Dodgers situation. They will make a move though. It just kind of depends on a few other things, in my opinion. Um, One of the other things I put down as well is the Astros, whose championship window is very much still open for some reason.
Always.
Is they should probably look for first baseman. You know, they got so much better after they released Abreu alone. So imagine how good they could be if they actually acquire a real first baseman. um, but I think their best option there would obviously be Vladdy. But let's assume the Blue Jays probably won't trade him. I think Alonso's also off the table with the Mets whooping ass lately for whatever reason. Grimace, their new Hispanic pop singer, whatever it might be. The Mets are fucking killing it, and I hate it. But yeah, they have a few valuable pieces. They have like some getting to be older infielders and outfielders who were highly ranked at one point that they could move. I think that more realistically, though, they should probably try to make a run for Goldschmidt if the Cardinals start losing a little more this next week, because he hasn't really been that productive this year. He's an older veteran player. I could see him hitting well in like big situations, which the Astros would be in, and I don't really think he's doing enough for the Cardinal. Like nobody's scared of the Cardinals, even though they're fighting for a wild card. I don't think if you lose an old Paul Goldschmidt, who's probably on an expiring contract soon, I don't think that's like setting you back if you're moving in the right direction. So I think to tool up on some prospects who could pan out for you and get rid of one of your aging corner infielders if you're the Cardinals, I think that's a good move. So Astros should probably look into that if they're not already.
Yeah, definitely some cheaper options they could go with. You know, like with the White Sox, Vaughn is decent. You could go to the Rockies and try to get Ryan McMahon.
You go to the Rays for Yandy.
Yeah, Yandy. You could put Paredes at first. Josh Bell is a cheap option. There's a lot of options, but all they have to do, the Astros, is get to the playoffs pretty much. They have Kyle Tucker back by September, and he's, a top 5 MVP. Jordan's been great. They have a deep lineup like Yainer Diaz, Jeremy Pena have been great. McCormick is good. Like pretty much their 1 through like 7 every night is like solid. And then like those like random guys step up for them. So they have a good rotation of that.
Yeah,
but I think like one more like solid maybe outfield piece or corner infielder, and I think they're set. So going back to the Blue Jays for me, so a few names I threw out. Bichette, I agree. The Dodgers is likely. And then I think, this is just a dart throw at a board, like a matchup to matchup type, no rumors. But I think Kevin Gausman, if they're selling, I think he's a name that's out. He has some value. He was great a few years ago. And like he shows like he's like mid-4s, like he's good.
Yeah, he shows glimpses.
I think the Padres, they always make a deal at the deadline. So this is like my dart throw signing trade pick. Like, Gausman could get traded anywhere. He could go nowhere. Like, the Yankees could get him for all we know. That's a guy that I definitely see out. And then, I think Vlad is the only piece they'll kind of hold. That Spencer Horwitz guy though, he's pretty good. Second baseman.
Solid player. He is solid.
Solid player.
Weird. Weird that everyone else gets those players.
Yeah, I like seeing new players come up. It's fun to follow for a baseball fan, for sure.
Yeah, especially when you have to watch JD Martinez at 4-hole.
Yeah, but so I think a few names they can move as well. Jose Barrios, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, IKF, and Justin Turner. And I think a lot of those teams that we named holes for could easily get one of those guys. If they don't want to move a Bo or a Gausman, they could like move like a Barrios, Turner, IKF, who all have decent value in their own markets. I think like all the teams we talked about could use at least a starting pitcher, corner infielder, or like a platoon guy. The Yankees could use IKF.
Bring him back, please.
I wish. Gio IKF. Oh my God, we'd be saved.
But
I think like the Blue Jays could cash in on some decent prospects here. They could move Springer. Like they could just restock and keep Vlad, and that's it. And so it'll
Yeah,
be interesting for sure.
they are always like ass no matter who's on their team.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
I don't really care. They
Like
probably will keep Vlad though, unfortunately.
for
Something
sure.
that you put as well, one of the last few I want to talk about here is you put that you think the Rockies are going to cash in on McMahon, and I think that they should, but I just I don't know if they will. They're kind of not the smartest franchise. I think they should be trying to acquire all the pitching they can.
Yeah.
They don't really have too much to sell though, because they're a young team. Brenton Doyle has some value now.
Do
I
you
mean,
do
I
you
don't know.
trade Brenton Doyle at
I don't
age
think
what is
they
he,
would trade
25,
him. No, no, no.
26?
I was gonna say Brenton Doyle has some value now, but all these players are like young, like Ezekiel Tovar, and McMahon is older than them, so I think they should trade
Yeah.
him, but I don't think they will. I think they are convinced that they can be at least competing for a wild card spot in the next year or so, maybe
Pitching,
two
man.
years. Um, because their lineup is pretty solid, a little inconsistent. They need to
It's
make a few
so weird.
signings.
It's so
Um, yeah, but yeah, they need all the pitching they can get. So they're not in a position to make a move for that. I don't think they're going to completely sell though. I think they're going to kind of hold for the most part, but sell, get a few prospects. They need to have a good free agency though, really badly.
for
Um,
sure.
who did they draft in the MLB draft though? They drafted I think they drafted a first baseman. I think they drafted Kurtz, or they got a pitcher.
Yeah, they're the top pick.
Yeah, whoever they drafted, they could be solid here in the next few years. Um, but I don't think they're gonna sell McMahon.
Um, so the reason I put that is wait, I was trying to see who they drafted. I couldn't find it. So I think, yeah, just the age thing. Like the rest of them are 25, 26, promising. I think they just like maybe cash in on that one guy. Maybe I don't think it'll be Charlie Blackman. He's been there his whole career.
He's so old.
Yeah. He like has decent value though. Like he's not
I know
terrible.
he's not a terrible
Um,
outfielder.
and he's kind of got swag. So like Chuck Nasty, solid.
Yeah,
But
no Yankee. Couldn't be a Yankee with that.
yeah, chop that shit off. But yeah, that's a good point. I put they sell in on him, but I could easily see them keeping him and like going for that 3-year window till he's 32. The rest of them are young. So yeah. So moving on to another kind of, semi interesting. I've kind of been following with Joey. For those of you that don't know, we have a friend that's a Pirates fan, one singular friend. So when Paul Skeens pitches, it's National Paul Skeens Day.
It's everywhere.
But, yeah, so they're like a game or two above 500. They've been floating there, so they could make a push for a wild card. The reason I put this, you have Paul Skeens, who's been the best pitcher in baseball. Mitch Keller's been good. Jared Jones has been a good rookie. They're all on my fantasy team, so it's been great for me.
They have a really good rotation. Yeah.
Yeah, so they have a great rotation. Their bullpen, Aroldis Chapman's had a comeback. They have the guy Holderman, solid. Their closer, Bednar, is supposed to be good, but he's kind of shitty. So, but their bullpen's, adequate. But their lineup is really bad. Like they rely on Rowdy Tellez, Cabrian Hayes, Nick Gonzalez, O'Neal Cruz. Brian Reynolds is their best player, and he's like, I'll take him on the Yankees, maybe. But like,
I would definitely take him on the Yankees. But yeah, no, I agree. They have absolutely no consistent hitting whatsoever. O'Neal Cruz is a strikeout merchant, and like the whole lineup is just wildly inconsistent. Paul Skeens, poor guy, got his first MLB loss of his career, going 8.1 innings with two earned runs.
8 days.
So that's just ridiculous. But I think they'll probably make the wild card, and they should make a move to be decent. But they have a bright future. I think they're going to be a really fun team to watch in these next 2-3 years. because they just have so much young pitching talent you just mentioned, and they really are just some of their prospects panning out, and a few free agency signings away from being like a really elite team. So will be interesting to see how much they go in on this season, but they definitely need to be getting a bat. And then the last few we have here. So we've got the Angels, who are no surprise going to be big sellers because they're terrible. But they don't really have that much value. I think they're just going to sell them for as many prospects as they can get. I mean, they got Taylor Ward, who started off the season hot, but he's kind of dog shit now. So I don't know how much value you're going to get for him. Maybe going to a good team that thinks they can turn him around and be a productive hitter again. Estevez and Tyler Anderson, two solid starters. Or Estevez is a bullpen pitcher, isn't he?
Yeah, he's their closer.
Yeah, well, two solid pitchers. Anderson's a decent starter. They should probably give him away. Neither of them are generational, but they can both be contributing to a good team. And then, obviously Mike Trout is still sitting there. I think that they've probably thought about moving him multiple times, but the real question is who is going to take that contract on an aging and super injury prone Mike Trout that probably still has another 7 years on it.
I'll take him on the Yankees.
I mean, yeah, obviously I would take him on the Yankees if he was healthy and good, if that would work out for us. Or is he just going to be another Stanton? I don't know if the Angels even can move Mike Trout, but it's just truly one of the biggest tragedies in sports that he spent his whole damn career on that team and made one playoff appearance when he was such a generational player in his prime. He should have been a Yankee from the start. I'll say that. I don't know if I would take him now, but he should have been one from the start. And then I think we would all be better off. Who knows? We might have cured world hunger by now. But yeah, the Angels are sellers because they're dog shit. I don't know when they'll ever be good. Maybe sometime in my lifetime. But then moving on to the final team we have here, and I'll let you talk about it because I know you got more thoughts on it than I do. But could be seeing the Royals, who are competing for a wild card spot right now, make a few moves at the deadline.
Yeah, we were talking about this a lot in the past few days. Bobby Witt Jr. looks like the MVP in my opinion. He's hitting like 345. Like, it's ridiculous. He's a Gold Glover. Like, I don't know what more he needs to do. Like, he's carrying his team to the playoffs.
Probably MVP if they make the playoffs.
Yeah, I think they're scary, but are they for real? This trade deadline is definitely gonna like separate them, either good or bad. I think they'll add one arm, probably a starter, maybe a bullpen guy. Probably I'll get into that. Probably a starter, and then a bat. So the arm, I think they could add, like I was saying, is Barrios or Gosman. Those are cheapish options. You kind of get solidity in a third role behind. You have Lugo's now the ace. Cole Ragans is great. So you have those two guys. You have Michael Walker, who's like average.
Singer's been okay.
Singer's been hit or miss. So, you get one more guy. And then they just got Hunter Harvey, who I rely on, who kind of got shelled on the Nationals, but he's a good reliever for sure. He's got good stuff, throws almost 100. So maybe a starter now since they already went for a reliever. Another name I threw out from the Angels, Tyler Anderson. He's going to be cheap, and like he's got a low ERA on a bad team. He's faced a lot of bad spots, I feel like, and like he holds his own. He's kind of like a better Nestor Cortez to me. Like, that's kind of how I see him.
Yeah.
So maybe he could be a fourth starter, a third starter, and then as a bat, I think they could add an outfielder. I think they're pretty deep in the infield. They've got Vinny, Michael Garcia, and Bobby Witt Jr. So I think 3 of their 4 spots. I'm not sure. Their second baseman's like Adam Frazier or someone. Kind of a little worse. Yeah, he's mid. But their outfield could definitely use some rebolstering. I think Luis Robert could be a name, or Taylor Ward could be a name.
That would be crazy. They
One
got
guy.
Robert, that would be crazy. It just depends on how close they think they are, if they're willing to give up that much. Yeah, respectfully, Hunter Renfroe, you cannot make the World Series roster if we're being serious about winning a World Series here in Kansas City. But yeah, they're a fun team. I think Witt is the MVP to this point. I mean, Judge has the best numbers, obviously, but you see where the Yankees are right now, and I don't think that's going to win him an MVP unless the Yankees have a nice turnaround and he breaks another record or something. But unless that happens, I think Witt is the MVP if the Royals make the playoffs like it looks like they're going to. So yeah, he can't say enough about him. But yeah, that kind of wraps up at least most of the big teams we're looking at the trade deadline. I'm sure some surprise smaller moves will happen as well. I'm sure the Red Sox will probably end up doing something. The Rays, are they going to be sellers? That's a huge question mark, and they have some definitely some players of value. That's in the AL East alone. So we'll see what comes and what comes to be, and we'll talk about it next week. We'll talk about the moves that were made. Well, our thoughts on them. So look forward to that. And then, so we've been a little hot betting lately, but we're going to bring some picks to you guys next week. I think we're going to bring some new MLB picks is probably what it'll be. We'll bring those to you guys next week so you guys can hopefully win some money as we've been lately, which is rare for me. But yeah, so that pretty much wraps up what we got for this episode. Wanted to keep it mostly MLB focused and NFL offseason focused, but it's really exciting. We're probably going to do some kind of mock draft, at least something for fantasy football coming up, and I'm sure we're going to be doing our actual drafts soon enough here. So August is coming up quickly. College football, NFL football season's almost upon us, which is obviously the best time of year. And we'll be back up at school, which will help us be a lot more consistent. And it will also allow us to do these in person, which could add some different dynamics, get some guests on and stuff. So, anything you want to say?
Definitely excited. Football season coming up. I would say within the next 2 weeks, we'll definitely do some mock drafts on here. Maybe we could even do one of our leagues live drafts on here. Maybe do a live stream instead of a recording episode. That'd be a cool dynamic. We're together doing a draft. We could figure it out. And then the last thing is Friday is the Olympics.
I forgot about that.
So
the Olympics are going on. Why are they not starting yet?
We're talking about how we're going to include the Olympics as noteworthy news at the beginning.
USA.
And then we just got into MLB, and I remember to include it, but look out for USA basketball. USA is like a lock to win the most gold medals, so I guess we're OP. I'm not a huge Olympics guy, but I want to see LeBron cook.
Hell yeah.
Germany looks scary.